Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man Channel. The rarest wolves don't howl, they just hunt. That quote? It's not just poetic, it's the entire mood of a Sigma male. While the world worships loud leaders and flashy personalities, the Sigma quietly rewrites the rules from the shadows. He's not trying to be seen, he's too busy seeing through everything and everyone. Here's a fact that'll fry your brain. Sigma males make up less than 1% of the population. Yeah, rarer than a loyal group chat or a peaceful internet comment section. And despite their brilliance, calm dominance, and almost unsettling self-mastery, people keep sleeping on them. Why? Because they don't play by the rules people understand. They're not trying to lead the pack. They're not trying to follow it either. They walk beside it, eyes forward, mind sharp, with zero interest in the noise behind them. But if you think that makes them irrelevant, think again. These are the men who shape the world in silence. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into 11 brutally honest reasons why people underestimate the Sigma male, even though doing so is the biggest L they'll never recover from. Number 1, they don't perform for attention, so people assume they have nothing to offer. They don't perform for attention, so people assume they have nothing to offer. That's the first and most brutal reason Sigma males get overlooked. In a world where everything is about being seen, liked, shared, and validated, the Sigma male couldn't care less about being center stage. He's not auditioning for approval. He's not putting on a show. He's doing his thing, quietly, effectively, and without needing a single round of applause. And that's exactly why most people miss his greatness. We've been trained to think that the loudest person in the room is the most powerful. That confidence must come with volume. That success must be flaunted to be real. So when a man walks into a room and doesn't try to dominate it, doesn't crack jokes to win attention, doesn't feel the need to prove anything, people automatically underestimate him. They assume he must not be ambitious, or talented, or important, but they've got it backwards. The Sigma male's silence isn't emptiness, it's self-sufficiency. His quiet isn't awkwardness, it's focus. While everyone else is dancing for the spotlight, he's busy mastering skills, studying people, analyzing environments, and stacking silent wins. He's the guy who builds an empire without ever posting about the foundation. And when the finished product suddenly appears, everyone's stunned, asking, wait, when did he do all that? That's the irony. People sleep on him because they don't see him doing the things they associate with success. But the truth is, he's doing more than most. He just doesn't broadcast it. He doesn't play the look at me game because he doesn't need external hype to validate internal power. And since the world worships performance over depth, he often gets misread as ordinary. The thing is, Sigma males aren't trying to be misunderstood. They just refuse to shrink themselves into what society expects. And in a culture where visibility is everything, subtlety is almost invisible. So yeah, people sleep on him. They mistake his silence for weakness, his detachment for failure, his low profile for no profile. But by the time they realize they were wrong, he's already built something they'll never catch up to. It's not that he has nothing to offer, it's that he doesn't need your eyes on him to deliver it. Number 2, they never ask for permission, and that threatens the permission-seeking crowd. Sigma males never ask for permission, and that shakes people up more than they'll admit. In a world where most are constantly waiting for approval, validation, or some green light from authority, the Sigma male just acts. No announcements, no discussions, no waiting for someone to say, okay, now you're allowed to succeed. He simply decides, moves, and executes. That kind of unapologetic self-direction doesn't get celebrated, it gets side-eyed. People who are used to tiptoeing around power structures don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need one. The Sigma doesn't ask, can I do this? He asks, do I want to? And if the answer is yes, that's all the permission he needs. That terrifies people who built their entire lives around asking, conforming, and following steps someone else wrote. They see him operating freely and start to feel exposed. Because the truth is, most people aren't really following rules because they believe in them. They're doing it because they're afraid of what happens if they don't. So when a Sigma male breaks those same rules and not only survives but thrives, it destroys their excuse. He becomes proof that they could have done it differently but didn't, and that hits a nerve. That's why people try to label him as reckless or rebellious or arrogant. It's easier to throw dirt than admit the real issue. He moved without asking, and it worked. That's threatening. Not because he's doing something wrong, but because he's doing what others secretly wish they had the guts to do. What they don't realize is that Sigma males aren't trying to prove anything by bypassing permission. They just don't see the point in waiting for someone else to authorize their life. And when you stop needing approval, you stop being controllable. That's what unsettles people. Not the Sigma male's success, but the fact that he didn't beg for it, explain it, or justify it to anyone. He doesn't rebel to be edgy. He acts because he knows who he is, and that alone is more rebellious than most people can handle. Number 3, they don't post their highlights, so people assume they have none. They don't post their highlights, so people assume they have none. That's one of the biggest reasons Sigma males get overlooked. They're not out here turning their lives into a content strategy. They're not documenting every win, every meal, every gym session, or every vacation like it's a press release. And in a world obsessed with showing off, silence gets mistaken for failure. If you're not constantly broadcasting your accomplishments, people assume you don't have any. But with Sigma males, it's the opposite. Their lives are too rich, too real, and too focused to be turned into a highlight reel. They're not doing it for the likes, the claps, or the fake online praise. They do it for the results, the internal satisfaction, the progress that doesn't need a filter or a caption. While others are busy curating their best angles, the Sigma male is behind the scenes, building something that doesn't need a camera to be legendary. The truth is, he could post, he could flex, he could stunt for attention and easily dominate the timeline. But he sees through that game. He knows most people aren't impressed. They're comparing, competing, or quietly resenting. And he has no interest in being part of that shallow cycle. So he stays low, keeps it private, and watches people sleep on him while he levels up. And because he's not constantly reminding the world of what he's doing, people assume he's not doing much. That's the irony. People miss his greatness because it's not loud, it's not packaged in catchy captions or perfectly posed photos. It's subtle, it's real, and it's none of your business. But make no mistake, just because it's not on display doesn't mean it isn't happening. Sigma males are the type to achieve something massive and tell no one. No status updates, no soft brag posts, just quiet dominance. And by the time the world notices, the door to that version of him is already closed. People want transparency, not to celebrate you, but to keep tabs on you. The Sigma male knows this and gives them nothing. That's why they underestimate him. That's why they sleep on him. And that's why they always end up shocked when he suddenly shows up with results no one saw coming. Number 4, they are rarely available, and scarcity triggers resentment. Sigma males are rarely available, and that alone is enough to rub people the wrong way. Not because they're rude or flaky, but because they treat their time like currency, not confetti. They don't hand it out just to be liked or included. They give it when it matters. And in today's world, where people expect instant replies, constant engagement, and 24/7 accessibility, that kind of intentional absence feels like a slap in the face to the needy. Most people aren't used to being told no, or worse, being ignored completely. So when a Sigma male doesn't respond right away, doesn't show up to every social event, or vanishes for weeks to focus on something meaningful, people don't interpret it as discipline. They take it as rejection. They don't stop to ask what he's building or going through. They just assume he thinks he's too good or too busy for them. But the truth is, it's not about others at all. The Sigma male isn't trying to prove anything by being unavailable. He's just protecting his energy like his life depends on it, because it kind of does. He knows what drains him. He knows what adds nothing but noise. And he refuses to perform availability for the sake of keeping up appearances. That kind of scarcity, it doesn't just confuse people, it irritates them. Scarcity always brings out the truth. When someone is rarely accessible, it reveals who values presence and who just wants attention. The Sigma doesn't feed into shallow connection or keep relationships on life support out of guilt. If he's there, he's fully there, but if he's gone, trust that it's on purpose. Not out of disrespect, but out of alignment. People don't like that kind of boundary. It forces them to reflect on why they want his attention in the first place, and instead of doing that inner work, they just label him cold, distant, or arrogant. But it's not arrogance, it's self-respect. Sigma males won't dilute themselves to be more digestible. They'd rather be misunderstood than overexposed. That's why people sleep on them, because they can't get enough of them to fully grasp them, and humans always resent what they don't have easy access to. Number 5, they question the rules people build their identities around. Sigma males question the rules people have built their entire identities around, and that shakes people to their core. Not because they're trying to start a debate or sound clever, but because they can't stand mental laziness. If a belief doesn't make sense, they'll dissect it. If a tradition feels forced, they'll challenge it. And if a rule feels like a cage dressed up as structure, they'll expose it for what it really is. That kind of clarity, it's not welcomed, it's feared. Most people live on autopilot, clinging to systems they never chose but inherited. Cultural norms, societal timelines, religious expectations, family roles. These aren't just rules, they're comfort blankets wrapped around their self-worth. So when a Sigma male calmly questions why those rules even exist, it's not just uncomfortable, it's offensive. Because deep down, they know he's not wrong. They just don't want to admit they've built a life on unexamined blueprints. He's not doing it to be rebellious. He's doing it because blind obedience doesn't sit right with him. He doesn't accept. That's just how it is, as a valid explanation for anything. And when he speaks, it's not with the loud, aggressive tone of someone trying to dominate. It's with the unnerving calm of someone who already knows and just wants to know if you do. That's what makes it more threatening. He's not angry, he's clear. This kind of thinking dismantles egos. It forces people to realize they've been following rules like a script without even questioning who wrote it. And instead of having honest conversations, they shut down, label him difficult or negative, and retreat back into their comfort zones. Because facing the truth means risking the collapse of the identity they've spent years curating. Sigma males are natural disruptors, not because they want to tear everything down, but because they refuse to pretend something makes sense when it doesn't. And that refusal, it's not just rare, it's deeply uncomfortable for those who are too invested in the illusion. So yeah, people sleep on him, not because he lacks depth, but because his depth threatens to unravel theirs. Number 6. They aren't emotionally reactive, and people think that means they don't care. Sigma males aren't emotionally reactive, and that messes with people more than they'll ever admit. When everyone else is spiraling, snapping, crying, yelling, or oversharing for attention, the Sigma male just stands there, calm, collected, and unaffected. Not because he's cold, but because he's trained himself not to be emotionally hijacked by every little situation. And in a world where emotional chaos is the language of the masses, his silence reads like indifference. People don't know how to handle someone who doesn't take the bait. If you don't react, they assume you don't feel. If you don't argue, they think you're disconnected. If you don't chase or panic or perform emotion like a soap opera, they assume you don't care. But the Sigma male cares deeply. He just doesn't believe in turning his emotions into a spectacle. He doesn't owe anyone a reaction. To most people, passion looks like drama. High highs, low lows, visible outbursts. That's how they measure love, investment, anger, or loyalty. So when the Sigma male refuses to play that game, it short-circuits their expectations. He doesn't scream to make a point. He doesn't explode when he's hurt. He processes things internally on his own terms, in his own time. That kind of emotional discipline, it's misread constantly. What people don't see is the level of control it takes to stay centered when everything around you is trying to pull you off balance. Sigma males aren't numb, they're self-governed. And the truth is, people who are addicted to chaos can't stand someone who isn't easily moved, because if they can't provoke a reaction, they can't control the energy. The Sigma's emotional stillness is a power move, not the loud, flashy kind, but the unshakable, grounded kind that unnerves people because it reveals how unstable they really are. He won't match your panic, he won't sink to your level, he won't dance in emotional fire just to prove he's human. He'll stay in his lane, even if that means being misunderstood. People sleep on him because he's not emotionally loud. But that silence, that's not apathy. That's emotional sovereignty. And very few people know what to do with a man who refuses to perform his feelings just to make others comfortable. Number 7. They don't sell themselves, so people think they're not worth buying into. Sigma males don't sell themselves, and that instantly knocks them off the radar in a world where being loud is mistaken for being valuable. They're not handing out flashy bios, puffed-up resumes, or non-stop personal branding updates like they're auditioning for everyone's approval. They don't walk into rooms trying to convince people they matter. They already know they do. That quiet confidence, it confuses people who've been taught that worth must be loudly performed to be noticed. We live in a culture where the most marketable person usually wins, not the most capable one. People have been trained to buy into charisma, volume, and theatrics. even if there's no real substance behind it. And because Sigma males refuse to play that fake, exhausting game, they get skipped over. Not because they lack greatness, but because they didn't shove it in anyone's face. While others are busy talking themselves up, posting humble brags or name-dropping like it's a sport, the Sigma male is in the background quietly building something impressive. He's stacking wins that nobody knows about because he's not desperate to be seen. He's not addicted to validation, and that makes people uncomfortable because when someone doesn't need the spotlight, it forces others to question why they're chasing it so hard. People assume that if someone isn't actively selling themselves, they must not be worth anything. They confuse silence with invisibility. But Sigma males are not invisible. They're just selective about when and if they reveal what they're capable of. They'll let their work, their presence, and their consistency speak louder than any pitch ever could. And if you're too busy listening to the noisiest voice in the room, you'll miss the one that actually knows what the hell he's doing. The real kicker? By the time people finally notice the Sigma, he's already 10 steps ahead and uninterested in being bought into by the very crowd that ignored him when he was quiet. Sigma males don't chase influence, they attract it, without begging, without performing, and without selling their soul to be noticed. That's why people sleep on them. They're too refined for the circus and too rare to be understood by the crowd that claps for clowns. Number 8, they don't cater to insecurities, and that gets them hated in insecure circles. Sigma males don't cater to insecurities, and for people who live off emotional hand-holding, that's unforgivable. Insecure circles thrive on mutual ego-stroking. Everyone's expected to validate each other's drama, sugarcoat destructive patterns, and play the emotional therapist, even when the behavior is out of pocket. But the Sigma male, he's not interested in being your personal cheerleader while you self-destruct. If you're fishing for pity or enabling, you've come to the wrong guy. He's not going to co-sign your victim mindset just to keep the peace. If you're acting like the world owes you something, he'll challenge it. If you're spiraling and blaming everyone but yourself, he'll calmly hand you the mirror and step back. And that unfiltered honesty, it cuts deep, especially for people who are used to being coddled. Instead of facing their own reflection, they slap the toxic label on him just to feel better about ignoring the truth. The wild part, he's not trying to be mean. He's just allergic to emotional manipulation and performative vulnerability. He doesn't play into guilt trips, he doesn't respond to passive aggressiveness, and he definitely doesn't bend over backwards to make someone feel better about staying stuck. That refusal to feed insecurity makes people rage because they mistake it for coldness when it's actually integrity. And here's the brutal truth. A Sigma male's emotional boundaries will offend people who benefit from not having any. He won't jump into your chaos. He won't play the savior. He'll hold space for growth, but not for delusion. And if you can't handle that kind of clarity, you'll run back to softer voices that lie to you more politely. That's why insecure groups never keep a Sigma around for long. He's too honest, too grounded, too immune to emotional games. And when you're addicted to validation, someone who refuses to feed that addiction feels like a threat. So they hate him. Not because he's wrong, but because he forces them to confront things they've been avoiding for years. That's the price of being a mirror in a world full of filters. And that's exactly why people sleep on Sigma males. They're too brutally real to be liked by those still hiding from themselves. Number 9, they disappear to upgrade, and people assume they're falling off. Sigma males disappear to upgrade, but because they're not broadcasting every move, people assume they're slipping. In a society addicted to noise, updates, and attention, silence is often mistaken for weakness. When the Sigma male goes ghost, people start whispering, "Where's he been? Must have peaked. Maybe he lost it." But behind that radio silence, he's in absolute beast mode, building, sharpening, evolving, not to impress, but to expand. And trust, he's not coming back the same. Most people equate visibility with relevance. If you're not constantly showing up, posting, or performing, they think you've fallen off. But the Sigma male doesn't care about staying on the public radar. He cares about real growth. He knows that transformation isn't pretty, it's gritty, lonely, and deeply personal. So he vanishes, not to escape, but to upgrade. He's refining skills, burning what no longer serves him, and plotting his next move in total silence. The problem is the average person needs an audience to feel alive. They confuse being seen with being significant. So when someone chooses solitude over attention, it threatens their worldview. Why isn't he posting his progress? Why isn't he showing off? because he doesn't need to. He's not working for applause, he's working for mastery. The Sigma male doesn't do public suffering or emotional PR. He doesn't make a show out of his setbacks, and he sure as hell doesn't ask for pity when things get rough. He disappears, recalibrates, and levels up without making a scene, but because he's quiet, people assume he's defeated. That's the mistake. He's not gone, he's just underground, and when he resurfaces, he's not the same version you thought you knew. He's colder, smarter, sharper, with results that make your assumptions look ridiculous. And the irony? The same people who counted him out will circle back, shocked by the glow-up they never saw coming. But by then, he's already 2 moves ahead, unavailable, uninterested, and unbothered by the ones who slept on him. That's the Sigma formula. Disappear, evolve in silence, and return with something undeniable. No previews, no announcements, just impact. And that's why people misread him. He's too busy becoming better to convince anyone he's still winning. Number 10. They never compete where they don't even want the prize. Sigma males never compete where they don't even want the prize, and that completely throws people off. Society runs on competition. Who's the loudest? Who's the richest? Who's got the biggest following, the flashiest relationship, the most likes? Everyone's running around like they're in some hyperactive race for trophies that don't even matter in the long run. But the Sigma male, he steps back, looks at the chaos and goes, "Nah, not my game." And when he doesn't participate, people assume he's losing. But that's the catch. He's not losing. He's just not playing your game. While everyone else is obsessed with climbing ladders they don't even question, he's out building his own tower in the shadows. Quietly, methodically, with zero need for validation. He doesn't want your titles, your applause, or your status markers. Because he's not here to win by your standards, he's here to live by his. The thing is, when someone doesn't chase the same things you do, it exposes how little those things actually mean. If you spend your life trying to impress people and the Sigma male simply doesn't care to, what does that say about the game you've been playing? That's uncomfortable for a lot of people. So instead of questioning their own values, they mock his. They say he's lazy, weird, antisocial, or out of touch. But deep down they know the truth. He's free. He's not interested in popularity contests. He's not measuring success by who claps for him. He's building something real, and often that means walking away from fake prizes. He doesn't post just to be seen. He doesn't date just to show off. He doesn't hustle just to flex. That's what makes people nervous. They can't track his moves, so they assume he has none. The truth? The Sigma male is 10 steps ahead, playing a game with rules only he understands. He's chasing internal fulfillment, mastery, and peace. He doesn't need to be better than you. He just needs to be better than who he was yesterday. And that quiet, purpose-driven path, it's exactly why people sleep on him. He's not loud enough for clout chasers, and not fake enough for the highlight reel. But he's always winning where it counts. Number 11. They won't flatter you, and people mistake that for disrespect. Sigma males don't flatter people, and in a world that runs on empty compliments and social fakery, that's practically seen as a crime. He's not going to pretend your half-baked idea is genius. He won't force a laugh just to make you feel funny. And he sure won't shower you with compliments just to win favor. That kind of raw, no-performance energy, it sends people into panic mode because they're used to being emotionally babysat with sweet lies. The Sigma male doesn't hate you. He's not trying to offend you. He just values authenticity over comfort. If you're waiting for him to gas you up with flattery just to boost your ego, you'll be waiting a long time. He doesn't give compliments like candy. When he says something good about you, he means it, and that's exactly why it hits harder. But because most people are conditioned to get constant validation even when they haven't done much to earn it, they read his honesty as cold or worse, disrespectful. In truth, the Sigma male respects people enough not to lie to them. That's the irony. While others are buttering you up with polite dishonesty, he's handing you something solid, the truth. And if your self-worth is built on smoke and mirrors, his presence feels threatening. You'll label him as arrogant or rude, not because he is, but because he refuses to feed your illusions. What people don't understand is that Sigma males don't play social politics. They don't flirt with flattery to manipulate people into liking them. Their words carry weight because they don't use them carelessly. And that restraint? It drives insecure personalities mad. They expect a round of applause for just showing up, and when they don't get it from him, they throw shade. But deep down, they know he's the only one not faking it. People crave authenticity, but only until it stops coddling them. And that's where the Sigma male crosses the line, not because he's unkind, but because he refuses to perform fake niceness to make you feel better about your insecurities. In a world full of sweet talkers, his silence is honesty, and his honesty is power, and that's exactly why people misjudge him. He's not rude, he's rare. Number 12, they don't dress their intelligence up to be palatable. Sigma males don't dress their intelligence up to be palatable, and that alone is enough to make people uncomfortable. He doesn't dumb things down to make anyone feel smarter, and he doesn't dilute the truth just to avoid awkward silences. When he speaks, it's sharp, stripped of fluff, and straight from the bone. He's not trying to sound poetic or charming, he's trying to say something real. And when that truth cuts too deep or flies too high, most people don't admit they missed it, they just label him as weird or cold. This man can dissect a social illusion in 10 words. He can shatter a group's groupthink with a single calm sentence. Not because he's trying to be edgy, but because he genuinely sees the layers most people miss. He's playing mental chess in a world that rewards checkers. But instead of asking him to explain or clarify, people pull the classic defense move, mock what they don't understand. Because let's face it, it's easier to say he's socially awkward than to admit his thought process left you in the dust. Sigma males have no interest in sugarcoating their minds. They're not here to babysit fragile egos or intellectual insecurities. If something needs to be said, they'll say it with or without your emotional safety net. And that's where the discomfort kicks in. People don't want to think harder. They want to feel smarter. And when someone refuses to spoon-feed them the truth in a way that sounds pleasant, they get defensive. It's not that the Sigma male lacks empathy. It's that he respects the truth more than your need to be gently escorted into it. If you're used to filtered conversations and dumbed-down ideas, his presence feels jarring. You won't hear small talk, you won't get polished metaphors, you'll get raw insights. Delivered like a precision strike, no warning, no dressing, just truth. And in a world addicted to being entertained, that kind of communication doesn't feel warm or friendly, it feels dangerous. But here's the secret, the people who get him are the ones who don't need baby steps. They recognize the brilliance in the bluntness. Everyone else? They miss the point entirely and call him cold, just to cover up the fact that he made them feel slow. Just because you don't hear the thunder doesn't mean the storm isn't coming. That's the Sigma male, quiet, unshaken, and underestimated until it's far too late. While the world scrambles for attention, approval, and applause, he's operating in a frequency too rare for the average mind to tune into. People sleep on him because he doesn't play loud. He plays accurate. And in a culture that confuses noise for value, stillness looks suspicious. But here's the brutal truth. He's not here to be seen. He's here to do. He's not concerned with being celebrated by the crowd that needs validation to function. He doesn't want their prizes, their empty praise, or their desperate clicks. He's building something deeper. Self-mastery, mental freedom, and a legacy that doesn't need a hashtag to exist. You can label him cold, call him distant, or dismiss him as too different. It won't change a thing, because the Sigma male doesn't lose sleep over being misunderstood by the crowd he was never trying to impress. He's not chasing relevance. He is the anomaly, rare, focused, and too real to fake it for clout. So go ahead, keep sleeping on him, just don't be shocked when he reappears, unbothered and 10 levels above where you left him. Because while the world was busy watching performers, the Sigma was busy becoming undeniable. And by the time they finally notice, he's already moved on. If this hit you different, if it made you pause, reflect, or even smirk at how true it all felt, don't just scroll away, hit that subscribe button and join a community that actually gets it. Like the video if you're tired of surface-level content and want more raw, unfiltered truth. Drop a comment below. What part resonated with you the most? I read everything, and hey, share this with someone who's slept on Sigma males for way too long. Wake them up. This isn't just another channel, this is a mindset. Stick around. We're only getting started.